Namaste, Tervetuloa. Welcome to Indian Minds in Finland, the YouTube channel that showcases the vibrant Indian community living, working, and thriving in the land of in thousand lakes. I'm your host, Dr. Karthik Sindhya, and I'm excited to bring you inspiring stories, heartfelt journeys, and the incredible contributions of Indians to the Finnish economy and society. So let's dive in and celebrate the fusion of Indian and Finnish cultures. Our today's participant is Dr. Sneha Goel, who is a research scientist at VTT. And so have just created a series of questions. So we just go through each of them, but we can also talk about something different if something comes up in the middle.
Mhm.
So, okay, let's start. So, could you just introduce yourself and where you come from and what you do here?
Yeah. So I come from Haryana. It's a province in India, in the north part of India. And right now I'm a research scientist in VTT, which is the Technical Research Center of Finland. And a bit about my academic background. I would say it started my this journey to be a researcher. It started, I think, with my bachelor's from IIT Kanpur in material science and engineering, and then I went to do my master's. And then I stayed there for PhD in additive manufacturing from the same university. And then I spent a year in Switzerland because of the Swiss dream. Now here I am. It's been a year since I've joined. Yeah, and I think if I see this a little bit about my current role, my current role is to perform research and as well as to do some customer work because BTT is quite well positioned between academia and industry. So we try to help out industry, and that's actually one of the big reasons why BTT is there. So I think that's in short.
From being a researcher, so if we go back to your uh, academic background and try to understand. So, how has your background from India actually influenced your career path? Were there some things that you learned that you were really interested to research more before during your education that which led you to this career path?
Yeah, I think that the seeds to become a scientist, I think they were sown when I was growing up, because my parents are actually medical doctors, and especially my mother, she used to use a lot of science in day to day life. So and this got me very curious that just by knowing, you scientific having this scientific knowledge and this scientific temperament, you can like it makes life so much easier. Yeah. And then I think when I was doing further in my education, then I came across a wonderful teacher. He actually inculcated a lot of curiosity in me. Like he was trying very hard to teach us to ask why, not to just accept things directly, but to really ask why, even for simple things like -1 into -1 is +1. Yeah, everybody knows this, but why? And so very simple things. So I think this curiosity, I think that really pushed me to further towards science. And then I think when I was studying, then I did some internships during my bachelor's in Sweden and in India in Bhabha Atomic Research Center. And it just, my curiosity kept on going up, and the thirst for knowledge, just to know things. So I think that's from there it just kept on going. um, I'm not 100% sure about the uniqueness of these skills, because I think a lot of people, or majority of people, should or do pursue that. But I think there are three crucial things which I feel have helped me uh, through my this like higher education and career now. So I would say these three things. First and foremost is the attitude to not complain, because often, like when I experienced in India, that often, like not often, but let's say a lot of times, things might not be in place. Everything, and there could be some like limited resources. So I think that kind of system pushes you to be more creative, I would say. When you have less of something, then you try really hard to make something good out of it, right? So I think that's been going on in my back of my mind every time, that I try not to complain but to make best of whatever is there in front of me. And second thing I would say is giving really good attention to detail. So not do a shady job, because that's, especially in India, it's very competitive. Overall worldwide it's competitive, but in India it's even I think quite a lot more competitive. So there you need to be very good in whatever you're doing. So I think that really pushed me to really have a deep understanding of things, and to give proper attention to detail so that I deliver my best. And thirdly, I would say is to, because I always try to think, why am I doing research? So I try to connect my work with the daily life, like the general life. So it gives me perspective of what I'm doing and how important it is, and it keeps me motivated, you know, to continue working. So I would say these are the three which I could think of most crucial things that have helped me.
Yeah, I think this is quite important, and also the Finns are quite similar. That sometimes the Finnish researchers are also quite competitive, and they are quite particular about all the minute things that that go with it. And so, in that way, you must be getting along quite well with your colleagues. Okay, so I think it's with that probably we could even move to your current research projects. And even though we want to talk about organization goals and objectives, but in a wider perspective, we can just maybe we can talk about your what kind of research are you currently pursuing at VTT.
Yeah. So my research, overall, it is aimed towards creating carbon neutral solutions for energy. That's what I am most excited about. And to be more specific, I my work mainly revolves around additive manufacturing, or more commonly known as 3D printing in popular language. So basically, it's just to brief about it. So it's a new manufacturing technique. So there you can make very unique customized parts. For instance, you can make very lightweight orthopedic implants, or, like, for instance, very lightweight parts for aerospace. So this is a core of my research in additive manufacturing. And and now, being at VTT, I'm also starting to work on corrosion. Basically, this is one form of material degradation. And it's quite interesting how, like, it's the worldwide expenditure yearly on corrosion is more than $2 trillion. So it's a big, it's a lot of money. It's like around, like, more than 3% of the worldwide GDP, and we just spend that on corrosion. So it's a massive area. So there I thought it's quite relevant, so I've started working on that part, on material degradation, and how we can solve those issues.
So I think this part of your research should also be quite important to Finnish economy and development, especially because we have quite huge companies like Kone and Wärtsilä, where probably corrosion is one of the important topics there. So I think if we move ahead, as a researcher from having an Indian background and working in Finland and quite many other countries, so what challenges have you faced uh, during in your workplace, and how have you worked on them? So are there any particular challenges you faced as a result? Of course, there are some challenges which comes across for everyone, but are there some unique challenges which you had to overcome?
Yeah. No, I don't think there have been any unique challenges apart from the weather. A bit of a challenge, but otherwise, maybe sometimes I feel the language a bit of hiccups here and there, especially in the Nordic. But I think it's been quite smooth. People speak quite good English, and
Yeah,
otherwise,
that's quite nice, and I'm sure the language has been also one of the key things, especially when sometimes there has been a habit when you receive some data sets, most of their attributes are actually written in Finnish language, and then you need to understand what they actually mean before you can understand what they are. And I have faced this for a long time, but things have improved, so more and more people are actually writing them in English, and things have improved for like 10 years now. But since you are here, so have you established any research contacts with India? So are you collaborating with Indian researchers or institutes, and how is your connection back to India?
Mm. I would say it's growing. So even during my PhD, I had a collaboration and then we had a research publication together. So I think that's a very solid proof of collaboration. And now that I have finished my PhD, basically my formal education, I recently visited IIT Kanpur, and so we are discussing about more, bilateral collaborations, and there are funding research calls to basically further support this. So I'm actively looking for collaborating with research institutions in India.
Mm. And I think it's there's also, I think there has been some times when bachelor students have visited VTT and they were actually doing their projects here. So at least I remember from Guwahati, from mechanical, there was a person in VTT some years back. So he was doing his summer visit here. So I think these are some of the areas where we could keep the things alive in between, and of course you have to find funding instruments to collaborate with professors on a long term basis. I think that's quite nice. And coming to the collaboration and knowledge sharing, so how does your organization promote collaboration, and are there any special instruments do they have, and how does knowledge sharing go among researchers across different departments and teams? So do you collaborate a lot within Finland, outside in VTT?
Mhm. So I have just been 1 year here. So, but within this time frame, what I've seen is it's tremendous amount of collaboration internally and externally. So internally, I would say because it's very simple, right? A lot of our development goals, they are quite multidisciplinary. So we have to basically, it just pushes you automatically to collaborate between different teams and different research areas, or let's say business areas we call in BTT. And also I think when I was hired here, it was strongly encouraged, and they liked it that I have collaborations with like the US, in Switzerland, in India, and like China and so on. So I think that's quite very normal here in VTT, that we really like this. And also because a lot of our research projects comes from the EU grants, so we collaborate quite a lot in EU. So so and and then when you talk about this knowledge sharing, it's quite so within VTT we were quite open with the knowledge sharing, and then externally it depends if it's an academic work or an industrial work. So we try as much as possible to publish, and especially in open access. So
Mm. Yeah, I think that's quite evident. I have collaborated also with VTT over quite some time, and of course many of them have moved on. But I think it's a nice area where you actively collaborate with industries, and of course you also get to write actively EU research proposals. So have you also been writing some of those proposals?
yes, recently I've started to be part of writing in these EU proposals. Mm.
And I think, of course, every organization is would provide certain areas for professional growth and development. So how do you see that VTT provides such support? So what kind of opportunities do you have, and for researchers to advance their careers within your organization?
Mm. So what I find VTT as it's a very structured organization, like from my perspective, and especially for like for me, what I felt like, because every year we have this proper development program. Yeah. So at the start of the year, I sit down with my team leader, and we chart down what are the things I wish to achieve in this year. Yeah, and then we review it at the end of the year to see what I have achieved. And we also have a midterm review to see basically if things are going in place, or if they're not going as expected, then how can we solve these issues. So I think it's very structured, and I can see myself growing because I make the plan myself. Yeah, so I think it's a very systematic way of helping people grow. And also I have a mentor. There's also a mentorship thing in VTT, that we can get mentors. So I have a mentor, and I can constantly discuss with this person, and discuss professional personal things to help me keep going. So I think there are many. So this is one of the opportunities, and there are many other opportunities, because the organization strongly supports that we go worldwide to conferences, present our work, and also do some more courses like project management courses, because as you go higher and higher, you need more of project management skills. So there are both internal courses, very good internal, and then also there is a lot of emphasis to for researcher exchange, to go somewhere abroad, and also to participate in like schools. There are these international schools on certain topics. So things like that, I think it's there are a lot of opportunities to grow. And best part, I would say, underlining thing is that the organization wants you to grow. So I think it's it comes naturally.
Mm, indeed. So, how about Finland as a nation? So, well, you have been here for a year now. So, how do you think the entire professional and personal atmosphere, is it bringing the best out of you, or what is it that something is stopping you from growing?
Yeah. So I've been 1 year in Finland, and then 5 years in Sweden, and I find these two countries very similar. Yeah, it's hard to say there's been any significant difference. So with all this experience in these Nordic countries, I think it is bringing the best in me, and in a very relaxed environment. Like I feel a really nice this work life balance, which is the key selling point. So I think it's giving me a lot of like free time, and to reflect on myself, and keep myself growing in different dimensions. Yeah, not just professionally, but also personally, because I like a lot of these sports and activities. So, and the nature here, it's fantastic. So I think it's indeed bringing the best out of me.
Best out of you, which is quite nice that the country is has already provided quite a nice base for quite many researchers from the Indian community to stay here and flourish here, and happy that you also find it as interesting as us who have been here for many years now. And yeah, apart from research, so what else do you like to do? So do you have hobbies, or what do you do in free time in Finland?
Yeah, so many things like so when you start with nature, so like hiking and then biking, there's this nice archipelago in Turku region. So we did this 5 days camping and biking. So this summer also we are planning to do that. So I you just do camp in the nature. I think it's just wonderful, to be away from civilization and to have basic human needs satisfied. It's just it can be very like what do you call it, fulfilling. Yeah, yeah. And then I would say sports. Yeah, like then that I would say playing badminton. That's been the thing. And then I think a lot of activities like skiing and ice skating. So I feel what I really like here is, and I like it that I get so much of free time to do that.
And okay, so let's say about researchers and being a mentor. So do you also have to mentor on guide junior researchers in your organization, or what do you mostly work by yourself with other colleagues?
So I have not been a mentor to my junior fellows, but I'm actually also a guest researcher in University of Turku. So there I have some master students and PhD students. I co-supervise with the professors there. But coming back to VTT, my main workplace, I've not been a mentor, but often or most of the time we work in teams in different research projects, and then it involves like junior researchers, mid career researchers, and senior researchers. So I think it's a mix. So it's a continuous learning in between, without like formal, I would say, learning, but it goes like that. So I think that, and that helps junior researchers. I mean, I also consider myself not so senior, so like it really helps, especially when you work with senior researchers. Automatically it ramps up your learning curve, because there's so much of experience already present in our teams. So I think it's an by default way of getting mentored and learn.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes by mentoring you also get to learn quite a lot from others. I think it's quite a nice of give and take. So it's usually not one way. We would probably kind try to wind up in this question of what advice would you give to researchers who are considering a transition from academia to elsewhere. So I think many of them would want to continue to be in the university, move up the ladder, but there are some people who want to go for the applied research and move. So, what advice do you want to go? Why is it this part to be more attractive proposition for people? So,
Mhm. I would say two things. First, as you said, the applied part. Yeah. So you see a direct application of your work, of your skill sets. Yeah. For solving daily life, like for industrial problems. And second thing is, what I find really nice here is we work in teams. I find it very awesome, because I can do very tackle very multidisciplinary challenges. And as we are growing more and more advancing in science, what I feel is there is need of more and more multidisciplinary projects and multidisciplinary skills. So I would say these are the two key things which I really enjoy at VTT. To work in teams, yeah, then we help each other and grow. There's a lot of brainstorming together, and bringing different viewpoints to solve a problem. And second is to really see a direct application of your work. And also, like we do like research, as you said, like with the EU projects. So this really helps us to keep our skills up to date, because we do research and we also push the boundaries of science ourselves as well. And then we use all this knowledge to apply in real world. So I think if someone really wants something like this, it's I think it's the perfect place, because we are well situated between academia and industry.
yeah, I think that's a very valid part, and also access to uh, even the clients and people in organizations is quite easy in Finland, what I have seen. So suppose you want to do something in corrosion, example, and you want to collaborate somebody in Wärtsilä, which is one of the most well-known companies in Finland and abroad. And it's very easy to get connected to the relevant people and start discussing. And I think this threshold to connect and get your point across is it works quite well within Finland. So it doesn't take much time. That's what I have found. And have you found something similar?
Me the same. I just picked up the phone, called a company who doesn't know me, but I just told them I'm from VTT, and he was like ready to hear me. So and so I think yeah, I had the similar experience.
Yeah, thanks, Sneha, for this wonderful talk, and I hope we managed to capture a glimpse of what you are going to do and what you have been doing here. And maybe down the lane we will have another call and see what has changed and how you have been progressing.
Yeah, thanks for this session. Yeah, thanks. Okay, bye bye.